Morning, all. Hope you're having a good week. Um, Pretty busy day for me today, actually. I got an appointment for my nails, got to get ready for our cruise. Then I got pickleball, and then I got to hustle back home because I've got people coming to train. So, busy, busy. Um, I am inspired to talk about evening snacking because a couple of my clients do good all day as really common, and then 8 o'clock hits or after dinner hits, 7 o'clock, whatever, and they just cannot stop that craving. So we're going to talk about why that is, and then some options to help you navigate that and get to a better place. Now, I'm going to put on the table a few things because one size does not fit all, and you have to try different things and see what works for you. So, first, let's talk about why that hits so hard. Like, you are on point, right? Breakfast is great, lunch is, you navigate what happens at nighttime. So, here's a few things that you may or may not realize. First of all, the most important thing is it doesn't come down to willpower, okay? Studies have proven that willpower is finite. We used to think it was um, uh, um, unlimited, but you can think of it as a glass of water, right? So your willpower in the morning is really strong, but as you deal with traffic and the kids and what's going on at work and relationships and family and this and that and a phone call that was bad news, whatever. So as that's all happening through your day, you are dealing with that and your willpower gets depleted. And so by 7 o'clock, you got none left. So if you're relying solely on willpower, it probably isn't going to work the best for you. What you need is a strategy. And we're going to get into, as I said, a few options that may help you. Okay. The other thing is that we're looking for comfort usually. We're looking to feel better. And so, with that day that just happened, the stress and the anxiety and all the decisions we made, da 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 da, people are seem quite stressed, depending on your job, the end of school, la la. So we're looking to reduce that stress and feel good. Well, I have talked about this before in my lives. There are food scientists that figure out how much salt, fats, and not healthy fats, bad fats, trans fats, and sugar to put in those foods to make them highly palatable. Like think cookies, potato chips, um, even bagels, like all like those packaged junk food, they trigger dopamine and serotonin. Well, guess what? That makes you feel good. And so at some level, it's a reasonable response for your body to do. Like your body wants to feel better, and that works. Also, if you're high stress, carbohydrates bring the cortisol down. And so you're eating this stuff, you're feeling better for the moment, and your cortisol is going down. So, yeah, why not, right? The problem gets into once you've eaten that. And I'm not talking about a little bit and then being good. Like, I'm not talking about a little serving and moving on. I'm talking about like you make choices you're not happy with because you've eaten too much or, um, just there's guilt and shame, all that stuff is where the problem lies. And you felt good in the moment while you were doing that, but then after you've done your binge or whatever, not only do you have the same problem that sent you there, now you have the guilt and the shame and the sense of failure and all that. So if it happens, I would say just learn from the experience and move on. What was my triggers? What could I have done differently? What would you do differently if you could relive it? Like those are the things you want to focus on instead of the event. And the other thing you might want to do, if you suffer with this repeatedly, you might want to look into the book by Charles Duhigg, The Habit Loop. So he talks about this. And in his book, and it so makes sense, there's a trigger, a routine, and a result or something we want, like a reward. Reward is what he uses. So the trigger, like we talked about, you're bored, you're stressed, you're anxious, you're happy, was sad, whatever. So there's a trigger, or 7 o'clock, whatever. There's a habit. You go for foods that aren't necessarily healthy for you. And the reward is you feel good at the end. So, in his book, he talks about the trigger's not going to go away. That sense of needing that feeling of fulfillment, of happiness, of comfort, that is so powerful. Your body's going to make you go fulfill that reward. What you do have control over is the routine, and that's what you have to focus on to change. So we're going to get into that in a second. But first, I'm going to talk a little bit about what your body might actually need, and then some cravings and what the deficiency might be. So, more protein. Now, if you're hitting your protein levels and you're still having this problem, it might be something else. But if your protein is low, you might find that that is going to eliminate, in particular, sugar cravings, because it helps with the insulin and it helps with stabilizing the hormones. In fact, we had the wrap up meeting in the menopause group, and one of the gals said one thing that she was not expecting is her sugar cravings are down. And I suspect it was the increase in protein. I wanted to dive into that a little bit more, but we got sidetracked and then I forgot. But that did resonate with me that her cravings are less than they used to be. So, more protein at every meal. If your cravings are salty, it might be a deficiency in electrolytes. So, you could try adding electrolytes through your day, see if that helps. We often misinterpret thirst as hunger. So make sure you're getting enough water. You should be, generally speaking, it's about 8 cups a day that you should be drinking. So if you're not doing that, increasing your water might help. If you're craving chocolate, it's often a magnesium deficiency. So if you're not taking magnesium, you might want to introduce that. Women can take 400 milligrams of magnesium a day. I like to split it in two. So 200 milligrams with breakfast, 200 milligrams with dinner. Sleep, not getting enough sleep will disrupt your hormones that regulate appetite. Leptin and ghrelin are messed up. They are the hormones that tell you you're hungry and you're full. The receptors are dulled, and so it sends you to the cupboard and you just keep eating. So just be mindful if you've had a bad night's sleep, you may have cravings later, and then you have a strategy to navigate that. And then if you're restricting, restriction leads to binging, the end. Like, I don't believe in cutting out total foods out of your diet unless you're intolerant or being super low calorie for a very long time. You know what I mean. So, and then if you can have a little treat once in a while. That's not what we're talking about. In fact, I would encourage that. It's when you go to the cupboard and you can't control the food, then the food is controlling you. And that's what we have to nip in the bud, and that's what we have to manage. So back to changing the routine. I'm going to put out a couple of options and you can play with it and see what might work for you. Deep breathing, particularly if it's a stress response that's sending you to the cupboard. They've shown, students did a study that shown deep breathing exercises can reduce cortisol by 40%. And it doesn't take very long. The deep breathing, particularly if you hold, it triggers the vagus nerve, which is going to calm the body. So deep breathing. Lots of people like a distraction. Like, they'll go for their workout, go for a walk, go for a run, and that will help them get past that moment of, I'll call it a moment of weakness. So, and then it passes and they feel better and all is good. Many of my clients find logging helps, and I do too. Guys, we're all the same. I'll put on a couple pounds and then I'll go, oh, my shorts are not fitting so great. And I will go back to logging. And there's just something about logging your food and going, okay, I've eaten all my calories. I do want to go to the cupboard for sure. I'm just like you guys. But it's like, okay, I've had all my calories, maybe a little over. It'll stop me from going to the cupboard. Also, a few of my clients, and this works for me too. So if you're practicing intermittent fasting, like a lot of my clients are, as am I, if you're intermittent fasting, you might want something, but you know your last meal should be around 7, and you don't go for more food. In my case, my husband will often go for popcorn, like 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, and I used to diet. And I've noticed with popcorn, it puts weight on me all the time. Anyway, side note. But when I'm fasting and he goes for his popcorn, I go, well, it's after 7. I'm just not going to eat it. I chew gum instead, which is one of the healthier options. So let's talk about, you've done this, you've gone for your walk, you still want food, da da da. What can you do? I chew gum. That helps me. I also will go for like healthier versions. Like I'll get a little dish of nuts and I might add some dark chocolate in there. And that's a great snack. If you crave sweet, you could do an ice cream. I'll give you a little recipe. Half a cup to three-quarter cup cottage cheese. You could use Greek yogurt if you want. Low fat, like 2%, plain. Add half a cup of frozen berries, a teaspoon of vanilla, and you put that in the blender. You guys, it is so, so yummy. And then you could even use that as a snack. You could use that, I've used it as a meal. If I'm really in a hurry and I got lots going on, I'll put a scoop of protein in there, half a scoop of protein, blend that up, and I'll make a meal out of it. So the other thing you can do is kale chips. Love me my kale chips. You get a bunch, you chop it up, pat them dry, preheat the oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit, drizzle with olive oil, sea salt. You can spice them any way you want to. Throw that in the oven 20, 30 minutes, and it's a nice little snack. So I hope this helped somebody today. It was longer than I expected, but let me know if you've got questions. If you do, tag me so I don't miss them. And I hope you have a great day. I'll see people who are going on the cruise next week, getting excited. And I will talk to you next week. Oh, actually, I probably won't talk to you next week. We're on the cruise. I will talk to you the week after. I'll see you soon.